This lesson is going to be covering some of the key individuals who played an important role in the lead up to the American Revolution or in the actual revolution itself, and some of the later lessons will kind of explore who was critical towards the end of it and towards the establishment of the new American government. There are many key players in the process and outcome of a major event like the American Revolution. This lesson looks at some of the key individuals who had an influence on life during and after the Revolution. Although acts and economic causes have already been explored in this course, there are also important people whose thoughts and actions influence the situation. Many of these same people were important after the Revolution as well. So why is this important? Many of these people were influential not just during the conflict, but in the conversation about how to structure a united country afterwards. During this lesson, we'll be looking at several different people and their role in the revolution before, during, or after the conflict. So let's start off with Samuel Adams. He's a cousin to John Adams. He was an activist in the years before the American Revolution actually kicked off. He served as a delegate to the Continental Congresses that were held in 1774 and 1775, and he was also essential in putting together the Committee of Correspondence that worked with organizations across the colonies. Benjamin Franklin is likely a name that you already recognize. An American icon, this man played a crucial role in the development of a new America. He was a political cartoonist and an inventor, but he also served in the Second Continental Congress that drafted the Declaration of Independence. And an interesting point of fact with Benjamin Franklin, he was wildly popular in France at the time, and that helped contribute towards gaining French sympathy and cooperation, and that support would be essential for the colonists to win the war. King George III, this British king, was the key leader in Great Britain before and immediately after the American Revolution. He served as Britain's ruler during the Napoleonic Wars, the War of 1812, and the French and Indian War. His treatment of colonists was used as justification for the American Revolution. Another name you've likely heard before is John Adams. John Adams rose to prominence when he defended the British soldiers allegedly responsible for murdering civilians in the Boston Massacre. He also served in the Continental Congress, and during his time there did not approve of measures that would have supported reconciling with Great Britain. Next, we're going to take a brief look at Joseph Brant. Like many other Native American chiefs and leaders, Brant sided with the British against the colonists during the Revolutionary War in an effort to protect his own land from encroaching American settlement. Many Native American leaders at the time thought that by partnering with British forces, they would be able to protect their land in the aftermath of the conflict. So Native American chiefs, leaders, and entire tribes were actually important at various parts of the American Revolution. Patrick Henry is an activist most famous for his speeches, especially the noted statement, "Give me liberty or give me death." George Grenville, not all of the decisions related to interaction with the colonists were linked directly to King George. Grenville actually served as the Prime Minister of Parliament at the same time, and this was during the time period that Parliament was responsible for passing the Stamp Act, Currency Act, Sugar Act, and Navigation Act, all of which were viewed as quite oppressive rules and regulations to lord over the colonies. Another very recognizable name is Thomas Jefferson, who would ultimately become President of the United States, but he also played a critical role in the Revolution. He wrote the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and also served as the first Secretary of State under George Washington. The individual who wrote the pamphlet Common Sense that helped to share opinions about growing British oppression is Thomas Paine. The publication and sharing of radical ideas surrounding the Revolution was important for getting colonists on board with their cause. Thomas Paine's 1776 pamphlet Common Sense was extremely popular in the American colonies, and he continued to write other documents that would encourage colonists to rise up against British rule. Another Native American leader of importance during the American Revolution is Pontiac. He was a key Ottawa chief who helped raid colonists that were settled on the western frontiers of the colonies between 1763 and 1766. Recognizing that getting the Native Americans on board could be helpful to their cause, the British were really interested in forming alliances and partnerships wherever they could. Now, the Native Americans thought that doing this would give them the rights back to their land, but as we all know from history, the way that things turned out is that even the Native Americans who contributed toward the cause have a very long history of not being able to keep the rights to their land, or being pushed to settlements and new geographic locations. And finally, George Washington. He was a revolutionary leader whose successes and skills would later allow him to serve as the first president. He was the commander-in-chief of American forces during the Revolutionary War, after being involved in the French and Indian War in 1754, and he became president of the new United States in 1789.